When my wife Emily threw those words at me, "You'll go a month without my touch," I honestly thought she was joking. We'd argued before, sure, but this felt different. It started over something small. I forgot to pick up her dress from the dry cleaner before her girls' night, but what began as a light complaint turned into a full-blown outburst. She accused me of not caring about her needs, of not appreciating her effort. Then, with her arms crossed and her eyes cold, she said those words like a sentence. "Maybe if you go without me for a month, you'll learn to value me again." I stared at her, stunned. Not angry, just quietly realizing the person I'd married was no longer standing in front of me. For the first few days, I didn't react. I didn't argue. I didn't beg. I went to work, came home, cooked my own meals, and even did her share of the chores when she forgot. She expected me to sulk or plead for attention, but I didn't. I was calm, steady, and strangely unaffected. Every time she walked past me in her silk robe, pretending to tempt me, I just nodded politely and went back to reading or working on my laptop. I could see the frustration growing in her eyes, the way her confidence began to crack. She had built her ego on control. My silence was tearing it apart. A week passed and she started testing boundaries. She'd casually brush her hand against mine at the dinner table or linger a little too close in the kitchen, waiting for me to take the bait. But I didn't. I smiled, said goodnight, and went to bed alone. By the second week, she was practically seething. "You're really okay with this?" she snapped. One night, I looked up from my book and said, "I'm respecting your decision. You wanted distance. I'm giving it to you." That's when she realized her little power play had failed. She wasn't in control anymore. By the third week, she started to fall apart. She tried to start conversations, asked me if I still loved her, or made small talk about random things, all to see if I'd break. But the truth was, I had already pulled away. Her punishment had become my peace. I started going to the gym again, focusing on my work, meeting friends she used to keep me from seeing. The space she forced between us gave me clarity. I didn't miss her touch. I missed who she used to be before arrogance replaced affection. Then came the night she broke first. I was getting ready for bed when she walked into the room wearing one of those dresses she knew I used to love. She stood there awkwardly, biting her lip. "You've proved your point," she whispered. "Can we stop this now?" I closed my laptop, looked her straight in the eye, and said calmly, "Stop what?" Her face dropped. This, this game." I smiled. "Emily, this was never a game. You made the rules. I just learned how to live with them." Her eyes filled, and for a moment she looked small, not in size, but in spirit. "I just wanted to feel appreciated," she said, her voice breaking. And instead of comforting her, I replied, "You tried to punish me. That isn't love, Emily. That's control." The silence that followed felt heavier than any argument we'd ever had. She reached for my hand, but I gently pulled away. For the first time, she understood that my affection wasn't something she could withhold or demand. The next morning, she woke up early, made breakfast, and tried to act like everything was fine. Overly cheerful, overly apologetic, but I had already made my choice. I told her I needed space, real space this time. A month later, I moved out. She cried, begged, and promised to change. But the truth was, I had already done my month without her, and it showed me exactly what life could feel like without manipulation, without constantly walking on eggshells. Months later, she saw me again at a cafe downtown. I was laughing with someone new, someone sincere. Emily froze at the counter, coffee shaking in her hands. I met her eyes, smiled politely, and turned back to my date. That was the moment she realized she hadn't just lost control. She had lost me completely.